Let's go to the NFL, where the big story continues to be the future of Odell Beckham. Our Ed Werder reported yesterday the Cowboys have concerns that his recovery from a torn left ACL in the Super Bowl has not progressed enough to ensure that he would play before mid-January. Here's Mike McCarthy on Odell earlier this afternoon.
I thought the visit went very well. I know personally, extremely impressed with Odell. Enjoyed our time together. Liked his vibe, and just enjoyed everything about, our talk. We didn't talk a whole lot about football. We talked more about life and family. So I think for the most part, I thought it was a very, very positive, productive visit.
So I know 2 ACLs. I get it. The wrong side of 30. I get it. Really look at Odell Beckham. I was looking at Saquon in the offseason saying, hey, everybody, you forgot about Saquon. He's healthy. It's all lined up. He's going to have this big year. Odell Beckham, if he can ever get healthy and stay healthy, it's a big if. I get it. CeeDee Lamb's never been as good as Odell Beckham was. Odell Beckham's been better than anybody on the Cowboys has ever been, right? At receiver. And when last seen, he was rounding into form again, and he was going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. The MVP of the Super Bowl. He was the best player on the field, except for Aaron Donald, right? Okay, let me say this. Let me set this up for you guys. Let's say the Cowboys pass, but a team like the Bills says, you know what? We want him for the next 2 to 3 years. We're going to give him that deal now. Roll the dice a little bit. Pay him. Could you imagine if he can get back by the time the Super Bowl rolls around? Is it the strangest thing to imagine the Cowboys playing the Bills in this year? It could easily happen. One of the more likely scenarios, right? Don't let Jerry Jones let Odell Beckham get away and then have Odell Beckham catching passes against the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. The reason I bring it up is Jerry was fanning the flames. Jerry got everybody all hot and bothered about Odell to the Cowboys.
That's what he does, Max.
Then he slips out the back.
That's what he does.
If after Jerry did that, the football gods have a sense of humor. He goes to the Bills, gets back in time for the Super Bowl, and kills the Cowboys? Could you imagine? Sacho, what's your reaction to this situation?
If I'm Odell, after the news got leaked from the Cowboys camp, I don't know if I'm going to Dallas after that, right? He's been interviewed. He's gone and visited multiple different teams, multiple different doctors, and there's been nothing that's been leaked. Now, all of a sudden, you hear Jerry Jones say, well, it has to improve us now. That's a pretty tall order. You hear him say, it has to improve us in a way that makes sense for us financially, right? I don't hear that from Buffalo. I don't hear that from New York. I hear that from Dallas and Jerry Jones. And so it's not just for me a this year scenario. It's a this year and the scenario. And from what it sounds like, from what Jerry Jones is saying, he's saying, I need someone who can play right now in this year. Whereas other teams, Bills as an example, maybe taking someone that can play not just this year, but I want you for our future of our franchise as well.
See, Harry, I agree with Sam. And the thing about Odell, if he wants 3 years, $50 million, something like that, well, you can't give. Odell is not a guy you have to worry about paying. Yeah. He is a passionate player. His love for the game is internal, right? He's internally motivated. Yep. He's a guy you can pay and know he's going to give you whatever he's got, right?
Because he loves the game.
He loves the game. To me, a receiver-needy team, that's a good risk to take.
Well, I will say this first, and I agree with you, Sato. I think it's Bush League that Jerry Jones came out and said this in a press conference or whatever he said it on and didn't have to do it. He could have kept those comments to himself, right? You didn't hear from Buffalo. You didn't hear from New York. All of a sudden, he goes to Dallas, like Sato just said, and now you hear this news. If I'm Odell, I feel the same way. I'm not going to Dallas. I'm not going to Dallas anymore. I already thought that he should have gone to Buffalo, where they throw the football on a consistent basis, that way more than they try to run the football. Now, that's not the offense in Dallas. They're going to run the football effectively and then let the skill position players make plays like that. I would love to see him in Buffalo. I just don't like the mindset of Jerry Jones going out and making this news when he didn't have to do it.
2 former NFL players are sitting here telling you that the way the Cowboys handled it have them thinking, if they were Odell, they're now done with Dallas. So you're saying there's a chance for Jimmy G. Sources tell Adam Schefter that doctors concluded Garoppolo did not suffer a Lisfranc injury to his broken left foot and will not need surgery. If his rehabilitation goes well, he has a chance to return in 7 to 8 weeks, which would mean a possible return for the NFC divisional round or championship game. The Niners are 8-4. They still have a chance to win the NFC West and host the playoff game. According to our analytics, the Niners have a 90% chance to make the postseason, even with Garoppolo's injury. Look, guys, Jimmy Garoppolo, I'll say it again. There have been 4 different quarterbacks who, with a huge sample size on both sides, with Garoppolo and without Garoppolo. He went to a team that lost 7 or 8 games in a row. They won 5 games as soon as he showed up with Shanahan. He gets hurt. They lose every game again. He comes back a play away from winning the Super Bowl. He gets hurt, out of the playoffs. He comes back an interception away from getting back to the Super Bowl, right? Like, they win almost. They're one of the best teams in football with him, and without him consistently have been one of the worst teams in football. If Jimmy G can come back for the playoffs and Purdy can just hold it down until then, I think the Niners are really live to win the whole thing this year. Am I right or wrong, Sacho?
Well, you're right, but you missed the last statement. You said Jimmy G, when he plays, they win. He gets hurt, they lose. When he plays, they win. He gets hurt. Oh, they won when he got hurt with Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, the last pick of the NFL. You conveniently left that out. So it's not about Jimmy G in this scenario. It's about that defense, that number 1 defense. Yes, Brock Purdy got a chance to get it done, but that defense made Tua look human. That defense has made everyone look human. It's the number 1 defense in points, number 1 defense in yards, and on the front 4, they rush as a unit. They rush 4 as one. Getting after the quarterback with Nick Bosa and company. On the back end, they cover as a unit. And so, yes, Jimmy G, statistically, when he plays, they win. But also, with Brock Purdy, they've been able to win as well because they're relying on their dominant defense led by DeMeco Ryans.
And Harry, as Key points out on KJM in the morning on the radio, it looked good with Purdy, right? It did. But as he also points out, no rookie's ever won a Super Bowl at quarterback. So if you do have Purdy, and he's holding it down, let's say they go 500, give or take, with Purdy, and now Garoppolo gets healthy, but you like the way it looks with Purdy. All things considered, would you stay with him, or would you go back to the guy with the playoff experience?
It depends on where Jimmy G is mentally, where he is from a physical standpoint within his injury. But I'll say this offense is built around not to make the quarterback be the star player.
Right.
That's why you went and got a Christian McCaffrey. That's why you have a Deebo Samuel, a Brandon Ayuk, a Trent Williams, a Kyle Juszczyk, a George Kittle. That's why you have all of those guys. On top of it, and Sacho, I add this to the defense. They have one of the best linebacking cores in the National Football League as well.
Yes,
and those guys get downhill and play and can run sideline to sideline. They can cover. They can do any and everything that you ask them to do. This team, and I'll say this, 2019, Jimmy Garoppolo, you know how many passes he threw in the first playoff game? 19. You know how many he threw in the second one? 8. And they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. The
formula's there.
All that's true because he just does what you got to do to win. That's all.
The formula's there.
He just does what you got to do to win. Can Purdy do the same thing? Would you, real quick, Sam, before we move on. Purdy looks good. He's holding it down. You're in the playoffs. Do you go to Garoppolo if he gets healthy or not?
I'll go back to Garoppolo. Oh, man, this is hard. If Purdy's winning me games, man, I'm sticking with Purdy. If Purdy's winning me games, I'm sticking with Purdy.